Hi, everyone. Shall we just go straight into question and answer? Because really, the boys have covered everything.
Not at all, Kat. Come on.
All right. Hello. Thank you very much for the invite, Scott. So my name's Kat and I run a consultancy called Consult Seated. I am a wheelchair user and disabled, but our consultancy was born out of the fact really that our son is autistic and neurodiverse and had come across a lot of barriers using the internet as he was growing up. And so we have used our lived experience from that to really look at websites in a completely different way. It is now fashionable to look at websites in the way that we're talking about it. It wasn't when he was starting to grow up and to have problems with it. So a lot of what I'm going to be mentioning, actually, the boys have already talked about. But what we do when we work with different companies is a lot of times accessibility doesn't really sell. But if you tell people they are going to benefit from SEO, then all of a sudden they're really interested in wanting to know how to get the SEO right on their website. And so we go about it that way. So the beauty of working and making your site more accessible is you are also increasing your search engine optimization, and it is making your website go further up the Google algorithm. And companies love that because that brings them towards the front of the Google search list. So that's the way we sell our accessibility and consultancy. The reason being is that Google can't read pictures. Google can only read words. And that's why both of the last speakers have mentioned alt text being so important. So describing what your picture is showing. So by using the keywords that are important to you and your company, and also on telling the story that's on the picture, suddenly Google can read what your picture is telling us, and it helps with your SEO. It also helps with page readers. Like Jamie said, if he can't zoom in to a page, his page reader will be able to read the description that is in that text box and explain to him what the picture is. We do a lot of work. We try to catch companies before they're big. We do some work with big multinationals, but ideally, to get accessibility right, we want to catch people at the very start of their journey in business, because it's then that we can really mold and shape what it is that they do. So we can work on things like logo, we can work on colors and fonts and contrasts, and we can catch them before they put this sticky tape, this band-aid on of an accessibility reason. There are so many companies out there that are trying to sell people this panacea to accessibility by downloading another bit of tech that you add onto your website, and it opens this reader and that reader, and you can do this. Great if you can see what you're doing and you can operate it. But the very people who actually need your website to be accessible are the very people who click off your website long before they even find out you've got this accessibility bot or whatever it is that they're calling them at the moment. So we really try to work with people so that when they are designing their website, they're getting it right from day one, and they are not making the mistake that 96% of the majority of websites have made. And we're trying to get them as early as possible. Font size and font style we've already mentioned. One of the other problems that we're seeing more and more in the audits that we do are pop-ups and chatbots. They're a whole new thing that looks really great, and you're on a website for maybe 2 or 3 seconds, And then all of a sudden you've got a box that shoots at your face and says, subscribe now or get 10% off here. And the company thinks they're giving you this great offer. If you have no accessibility issues, maybe they are, but actually, if you're using page readers or you've got problems with limited vision, once you start getting pop-ups coming in, it plays havoc with anything that you're trying to read page reader wise. And chatbots, I'm not a huge fan personally of chatbots anywhere. I find them very impersonal, but they can be extremely glitchy and they're a huge accessibility problem. Again, because it's not an interpersonal communication. It's not a person you're talking to, no matter how friendly they try to weave the questions or the answers or how right they are to your website. It is tech, it's AI. And it's just very inaccessible for the majority of users. And one thing that we've noticed recently is people that suffer with anxiety or neurodivergent actually can get a shock. And so I'm sure you've all seen these like YouTube videos of people that are watching like little kittens and then there's a image and it shocks them. Well, that's the physical response that people can get from these chatbots. They just find them so shocking. And the last thing you want to be doing is scaring people away from your site, because you scare them once, they ain't going to come back on the hunch that you might have turned it off or you've got rid of it. So we really advise people to, if at all possible, stay away from pop-ups and chatbots. They're scary. We reiterate Camel Case, it's wonderful. It's the way that suddenly we're able to read words rather than just a jumble of letters, and it makes sense to people. I've got dyslexia, so actually I benefit immensely because if I see a hashtag that's just one long word, I can't break down the word. But if I see each word has got a capital letter, I know straight away what it is that it's saying. So it's not even always just an accessibility thing or a page reader thing. It helps. I think it was Paul said it might earlier. Someone said that actually making your site more accessible, it helps everybody. And that's like accessibility anywhere. Making your building more accessible helps everybody. If you're making your website more accessible, really helps everybody as well. You just lose. Yeah, I think it's very, when you don't have an accessibility issue online, it's very easy to just surf through the web and not pick up on things. It's not until you slow down and you start and think about how usable and how friendly your website is that suddenly it starts to pick up different meaning. One of the other really big things that we recommend is if you've got any videos on your website, that you close caption them, so that as they're going live, you're not having, the person that is watching that video isn't having to then find the function or have a different overlay on their computer to add it themselves. What we find is that the majority of our tellies all have captions on all the time, and none of us have got hearing difficulties, but there's probably 3 or 4 other devices going on at the same time. And people tend to watch videos with no noise because they're watching them on their phone or they're watching them at work. And so by putting the captions on, people can watch your videos on your website without them interrupting whatever else they've got. They might be listening to a podcast and surfing at the same time. So by putting captions on, you're making those accessible to people from the get-go. And I've just lost where my notes were, but never mind. Yes, closed captions on your site. Yes, I think that's me.